think the positives out of it, Kerwin Bosch and the try that he set up for Grant Williams, quite exceptional. You know, he's got this massive boot which he backs on a frequent basis, and this time around he looked up and he saw the wide open spaces, and more importantly, just see that the guys, and this is from a Dave Williams era of coaching when he was at the Sharks, that he uses the players as blockers. So those guys are obviously not in a straight line, the defensive line's completely out of alignment, but watch how the players are used as blockers to get around. And then Kerwin Bosch, with his pace, just cracks on the burners. Let's have a look at Williams there, runs the cheat line perfectly off his shoulder, draws the last defender, spot on, and then Williams a little bit of work to do, but he's absolutely got jet shoes, like the lightning, eh, Swys?
Yes, it reminds me of my... No, I was never that quick, but I admire that quickness and that pace variation. Robbie, I love that counter-attack system. That's why I said that's one of the things they do well, so keep on doing it, man.
You're looking at it and you're thinking about, okay, but the obstruction factor, and is he really allowed to run those lines? But, you know, the sort of blockers that you speak about, Robbie, there's nothing wrong with it.
You're just standing your ground, 100%, so perfectly legal.
Yeah, and some of the other things that happened in the game, he picked up one or two scrummaging factors and, you know, sort of ticking off points where they might have started to lose the game.
I think the most important part about Heineken Cup specifically, and when you're playing these big sides with big budgets, you know, the scrum and your points of platforms that you have to launch off become vitally important. And when you're going back like this in a scrum, in the 30th minute, you've got problems pretty much coming for the rest of the game. It's a massive scrum from them. They get the penalty, momentum shift. Sharks 10-3 up, all of a sudden they start going on the back foot.
We'll talk about that as well, but we're going to get into the Maul try now as well, Robbie, and how it almost shifted the game as you speak about.
Yeah, so penalty to the touch for the Maul try. Again, Sharks were quite comfortable in this game. But just look at the work rate of these massive forwards. And the problem with the big budgets is that it's not just the forwards, it's when the bench comes on, they've got the other internationals that quite comfortably sort things out. And there again, the defensive effort on the flanks, very suspect for the Sharks.
The question then, Robbie, and we're going to look at one or two more things, but you can perhaps maybe work this in while we're looking at the rest of the game, is many will argue the Sharks have a similar budget to these big sides.
Not compared to this. So this is a very important line-out steal. So they had 3 penalties on the line, no yellow card shown to Toulouse. They went for the corner again. Toulouse get the line-out steal, and now suddenly a big momentum shift. I know Neil Power says the forward pass for the try that they scored, but this certainly got everything going Toulouse's way with regards to that turnover. Up the field they went.
And after that, Robbie, it was, some would argue, what was the start of the nail in the coffin.
Pretty much. It was halfway down. And then this gentleman, Ramos, is just, you know, quite, there's a 50-22. And from the more that comes from there,
that changed the game.
Try score. And that's really, the game's over after that, even though the Sharks came back into a long-range try, which Swys will get into. But Ramos, I mean, the type of player he is, I know everyone raves about DuPont, but Ramos is just next level as well.
And you speak about how it shifted the game and changed the game. I mean, how influential will, like Robbie said, that line-out steal before that, where there were cards and penalties without any cards?
But my point is, if the forward pass before that, it changed the whole game. We often say a guy missed a kick to the poles, he missed 3 kicks. If he slots the kick, you play from the halfway line. If he misses, you play from the 22. So you can only judge the outcome after a thing that happened. Not say, yeah, but this or that happened, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. I just felt when Ramos gave that 50-22, the body language of the Sharks suddenly, 26-20, dropped. The crowds went crazy, absolutely crazy. And that was for me sort of the pinnacle where the things started going wrong for the Sharks.
You've got so many experienced players in the Sharks, though, to be able to sort of shut that stuff out. And we're talking about players who've won Rugby World Cups. We're talking about players who've been abused in every ground in the world, almost literally. Surely moments like that should be easily overcome.
Yes, you've got our Springbok captain, you've got the likes of Bongi, but they're interspersed with other players that aren't quite at the same level, haven't had the same experiences as that. So it does ruffle feathers somewhat. Particularly for the guys that aren't as experienced in that sort of environment.
Let's talk budgets now. I mean, people will talk about the Sharks being the South African team with perhaps the deepest pockets that are concerned, and they've flexed a little bit of that power too.
Euros
Rands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got big budgets in France. Even the English clubs are now talking about it. They're very affluent. The English clubs have a salary cap. We used to have one. I don't think we really have one anymore. But certainly the type of numbers that they talk with regards to the players that go over there, you can't compete with what they have.